Daredevil born-again actor Vincent D'Onofrio, who plays Kingpin in the show, has responded to accusations that the show is woke. Roll this up over at phantompulse.com. You can find the link in the description below. And D'Onofrio responded to this user, Brandon S., who shared his opinions a couple of days ago about the show. He says, now that Aaron Moorhead and Justin Benson, those are the writers on the show, with Dario Scartapani, he is the showrunner, have come out and basically said that they are using Daredevil as an anti-conservative and cop show. I have a feeling Marvel Studios and Disney Plus are going to double down on woke season 2. Sad they took their best product and decided to attack half of America. Vincent D'Onofrio, I was hoping the reboot would be getting back to just good storytelling, but at this point, I guess it won't even be that. So in a now deleted post, D'Onofrio responded saying, this is absolute nonsense. We are not doubling down on any such thing. The statement is just not so. If there was any truth to it, I think I would know. We are telling Daredevil stories. We are not pushing any agenda other than making a kick-ass superhero drama. Much of the reviews beg to differ, whether that is from Access Media critics or from pop culture critics who are against the woke agenda, such as Gary Beekler over at Nerdrotic, which we'll actually get to in a little bit here. Brandon S. retorted. He shared a review from Access Media Deadline, and in Deadline's review, they describe the series as fearless and Trump 2.0 timely. In fact, the review shares that there are multiple levels where the show is a political allegory. It says, with terms like resist and retribution employed in the long-awaited and creatively retooled Charlie Cox-led Born Again, the first Daredevil series since 2018 lines up to the real America of 2025 on a number of levels. Certainly with the City Hall aspiring Kingpin promising 5 boroughs voters to keep our streets safe, to grab absolute power to abuse for riches, there is a lot of MAGA here, as well as a lot of creativity and history. So clearly, Deadline there indicating that the show is indeed an allegory for President Donald Trump and a critique of him, clearly, because they are portraying that allegory in the vein of Kingpin, a villain. And so this is what Brandon S. wrote on top of sharing that review. He says, honestly, I think that is what you are doing. But you have to understand that as a fan or fans, we have witnessed almost a decade of Marvel lecturing certain people. I was just a stand-in around 2016-ish time period, worked on a show called Colony, where the day after Trump won, the writers, producers, actors, etc. had an all-hands production meeting. Usually this during the season is for a show to be canceled or something happened to a crew member or actor. As we spend so much time on set, we become like a family on shows. But it was to talk about how America is under a fascist government now, and it was all because of bigots and fascists. And then someone pointed to me in front of the whole crew. After the show wrapped, I went back to another show I worked on, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Pre-Trump, the show was about source material and the Marvel Bible. First day back, there is a scene that's either a time jump or multiverse, and they have a history book about Trump and fascism. I watched in real time from a crew member position how almost every project was about politics. I see Dario say the show isn't about Trump, but it's hard for me to believe when he talks about the Punisher logo and cops and having to tackle the issue because of real life, even though that logo is used by police as a symbol of belonging and willing to put their life on the line for their community, and has nothing to do with what they think it does or he thinks it does. Though, once again, the show uses the extreme to represent the majority. Article after article also believes Born Again is about Trump. And so D'Onofrio responded to this saying, maybe you should dive into the Daredevil canon. Marvel created all that you speak of in terms of our show, a play on morality, the definition of good, bad, the pull between what God may have planned for us and what is happening for real in the life of Daredevil and Fisk. Another user then commented, Daymare here says, your unwillingness to draw the allegorical parallels is on you. There's no way the writers are sitting there dumbfounded with similarities. They absolutely knew. They could have leaned into it. They could have leaned away from it. They leaned into it. And D'Onofrio said, Fisk created and revealed by Marvel in 1967, I believe, yet you continue to think you are correct. If you're saying it's uncanny how certain aspects can compare, fine. Yet if you're saying that we are writing and playing Fisk to promote woke, then you're straight up wrong. No way. He's lying here, in my opinion. And he's doing it intentionally now. Then Daymare also had this response saying, wow, thank you for saying he's responding to someone else. So I don't think who he's responding to really matters. And even his response here is kind of beside the point. But we do get another response from D'Onofrio responding to him when he's in this kind of discussion here. And D'Onofrio says, I wish we could find a middle ground. If you knew me, you'd know that's my style, middle ground. You don't seem to want a real discussion. where you might actually be enlightened. I am disappointing we can't do that. Look at he's talking down to him. He's like, I want to be in the middle, but you are the person who doesn't want to have the discussion. And if we did have a discussion, I would be able to enlighten you because you clearly are dim-witted and you're just stupid. But if you talk to me, I could enlighten you on what we're really trying to do here. I mean, you cannot make this stuff up. This is exactly why I believe one of the reasons why D'Onofrio is clearly lying here. We'll get to some others here in a little bit. I mean, but just we're not really doing this. Go back to the Marvel canon. But if you actually wanted to have a discussion, I could enlighten you. You just need to open your mind to my woke agenda. Sick. Anyways, he goes on and says, I'm disappointed we can't do that. I prefer people in my life, left or right, that recognize that. No, you don't. You don't prefer people that are going to disagree with you because you're literally saying right here that you want to have a discussion where you can literally convince people to buy into whatever ideology you want to push. You want to enlighten them into your way of thinking rather than you admitting that you are wrong. And he is wrong. He is wrong. We'll get to this, right? So before we get to that, though, I do want to point out that showrunner Dario Scartapane has attempted to distance himself from the show being an allegory for Trump's 2024 presidential campaign. He was asked by IGN at the beginning of March, you can't help but see parallels between Fisk running for mayor and what's going on in the world. How much was that in your mind when you guys were prepping? And he said, none. That's the crazy thing. This is picking up Charles Soule's Mayor Fisk storyline that was written about 10 years ago, 2016. I wonder what happened in 2016. I wonder who got elected in 2016, right? Couldn't be President Trump, could it? In his first term? Couldn't be. These people are so dishonest. So that was probably in the zeitgeist then. I inherited some of that storyline. But for me, in first season and second season, which is part one, part two, it is Rise of a Tyrant. Whether that's applying to now, I'm actually kind of not in that space. I'm in what if Wilson Fisk, criminal, rose to power as mayor? He's literally sitting next to, what is her name? While he's giving this interview, the Miss Marvel, Sana Amanat, the Miss Marvel creator, sitting next to her. She's like the one who's been up doing propaganda for Barack Obama and all this stuff. I mean, you just can't make this stuff up, right? I mean, these people just lie straight to your face and think you're going to just suck it down and consume it. But anyways, he says, I'm in what if Wilson Fisk, criminal, rose to power as mayor? And yeah, sometimes we're feeling a little like prescient, but all of this stuff was written long before the events have happened. Because it was written after he was elected the first time. So I don't really know. Is it just something that's in the air, or it's an archetypal story that's happened many, many times over the centuries? And then he goes on to cite like some Greek play or something like that. However, even the left-wing Popverse notes that the comic book the show loosely adapts was published in 2017 after Trump won his first election, and it's abundantly clear the comic was created as an allegory for Trump's first election as president of the United States. Here's like one of the first issue of Soule's run here, and you literally have Matt Murdock talking about how questioning Foggy on why Fisk won and all of this other stuff. It talks about like cleaning up the streets, and then there even like reference a book clearly making reference to Art of the Deal. I mean, it's very clearly that this was a Trump allegory from the very beginning. And again, it was literally published in 2017 after Trump won his first election, and was clearly, in my opinion, trying to be kind of a guidebook on how to, quote, resist the Trump presidency, which we saw all of media doing back then. I mean, it was just so apparent. And then these people are trying to just sweep it aside, just like they're trying to sweep aside all the evil that they did during COVID and hope that people just completely forget about it. And it's just, it's despicable. It's absolutely despicable. And then even if we want to talk about the show, Gary Buechler makes it very clear that D'Onofrio's Kingpin is indeed an allegory for President Trump in his review here, if you want to watch it. He also goes on to explain how the show is quintessential MCU, with Matt Murdock getting constantly lectured by women, and even Kingpin being replaced by his wife as the leader of the New York crime families, and she does a better job than he does, apparently. I mean, this is MCU to a T. This is the woke agenda. Girls can do it just as good as boys, or even better. It leads to that obvious feminist propaganda, but that also goes into the whole gender ideology where that boys can become girls and girls can become boys, which is not possible. It's not possible. men and women are created differently, and we are able to do different things. We think differently, we act differently, we are built differently. There's lots of things that are different between us, but we also complement each other, and we complement each other in the way that we are built as well. Nevertheless, Buechler goes on and notes that Marvel does what Marvel does and pushes its DEI agenda by replacing Foggy Nelson and Karen Page with a bunch of DEI hires and characters. And then I don't know if he mentions this, but they clearly race swapped some characters as well in the show. And then he also notes that it did indeed use the Punisher as an allegory for the Summer of Love. Remember, they were all up in arms about the Punisher logo and all of this stuff, and they even had to create like a comic book storyline to try to address it and have the Punisher lecture these police officers that were using his logo and all of this stuff. I mean, it's just despicable, and they do this out of hate, and then they'll lecture you on hate, right? I mean, you just can't make this stuff up, right? But Buechler says this: they really leaned into the Punisher skull controversy, particularly from the Summer of Love, so they can go full ACAB, which is all cops are bastards, right? And have Punisher lecture the bad cops and call them clowns. That's the reason why I didn't watch this show to begin with, because they literally confirmed that the rumor that this storyline was going to be in the show, and I was like, well, maybe there's something about this show. It might actually entice me. Maybe they're making some changes. They had announced that they were going to be doing a creative reboot on this, and it seemed like there might be some changes being made. The promotional materials also looked decent, but then this guy came out and said that they were doing this Punisher storyline, and I was like, I'm out. Because as soon as I saw that, I knew it was just going to be an anti-police storyline, and that is what they were going to try to do. And they're going to try to cover by like, oh, it's just corrupt police that we're talking about. Well, no, because you're probably portraying all of those people as bad guys, and you're not doing it where you have corrupt police in a movie. Was that Denzel Washington movie where he's like the big gangster? You obviously have the corrupt police. I think Josh Brolin plays the corrupt officer in that film. And then you also have the good cop, though, too, right? The depiction of the good cop. And I guarantee you there's unlikely to be depictions of good cops in this show to offset that bad cop depiction. So they want you to believe that it's all just bad, all cops are bad, or the ACAB stuff, as Gary points out here. And that's what he says in his review. Finally, Gary also noted the show has all the woke trappings Marvel Studios has pushed for the better half of the last decade: intersectional feminism, identity politics, and TDS. So Vincent D'Onofrio here clearly gaslighting people over this show. There's a reason why he deleted his original response, right? Because he's lying. This guy is absolutely lying. This is exactly what they were doing. They're going to double down on this, and there's no change happening. Marvel is not changing, and there really is no hope for Marvel Studios at this point. The show that you thought they might have actually made some changes in, they said that they were doing a creative reboot, was just more of the same Marvel Studios woke MCU slop. And you got D'Onofrio out here lying to himself and then gaslighting all his followers, trying to pretend that that's not what they're doing, when that is indeed exactly what they are doing. But let me know what you guys make of what Vincent D'Onofrio had to say here. Let me know in the comments below. Remember to always be charitable, especially to each other, and to always, always speak the truth.
Why would you be afraid of the people? Why are you not afraid of God instead of man?